What's up everyone, and today we'll be looking at 2022's high-end tablets that are 50,000 pesos and above available in the Philippines. And if you have any idea about the tablet market, this list will pretty much see it split with Apple's iPads and Samsung's Galaxy Tab S8 line. So let's get balling. First off is the iPad Air, and you may be wondering, what? The iPad Air over 50k? Well yeah, it actually did see a price bump of about 5,000 pesos last October across its lineup, but the one we're talking about today is the top of the range iPad Air model with 256GB of storage and Wi-Fi and cellular. The 2022 model made headlines since it packs the same M1 chip as in the last gen iPad Pro, which is quite weird, but hey, we'll take it since the M1 gives you all the power you could possibly need. Unlike the iPad Pro, its display is a little less better with a 10.9-inch Liquid Retina IPS display that goes up to 500 nits. Its camera also sees a 12-megapixel wide camera at the back that is capable of shooting up to 4K at 60fps, and also a 12-megapixel ultra-wide in the front. It also has all the bells and whistles with 5G support, Wi-Fi 6, 20W USB-C charging, and it being an iPad, you get neat features like Stage Manager, Sidecar, and Center Stage for video calls. It also does support the 2nd-gen Apple Pencil and Magic Keyboard that makes it float unlike the bog standard iPad model. For the 256GB Wi-Fi and cellular model, you'll be looking to shell out at least 59,990 pesos, which is quite a lot for an iPad Air, but hey, if it fits your needs, then I see no issue. Now if you fancy the iPad Air but want something smaller, there's always the iPad mini. It's pretty much the iPad Air just shrunk down to a pretty cute body with an 8.3-inch display and also 500 nits of brightness. Things to note though is that it doesn't pack in the same M1 chip, but rather the A15 Bionic chip. And really, it's plenty enough cause I've never heard an iPad owner complain that it's too slow since Apple has really nailed it with their own silicon. You also get support for the 2nd-gen Apple Pencil, but you're gonna have to get a Bluetooth keyboard now since neither the Smart Folio keyboard nor the Magic Keyboard are supported. This also means you don't get Stage Manager as a feature with the iPad mini, but you still do get Center Stage and even Sidecar if you want to use it as a secondary display next to your Mac. Quite peculiar since it's pretty small, but hey, we're not complaining. You also get the same 12-megapixel wide camera in the back and 12-megapixel ultra-wide up front, while also having Touch ID on the power button. Likewise, the iPad mini is solely on this list because Apple decided to also bump up its price. Earlier, you could have had the top-range 256GB Wi-Fi and cellular model for just 47,990 pesos, but as of late 2022, that iPad mini is priced at 52,990 pesos. Yikes. But hey, if you want the smallest iPad out there to carry around traveling or read your next book, then the iPad mini is just so dang sweet to have. Now moving on to the best of what Apple has to offer, the iPad Pros. Before we get to the differences, let's go over some similarities as it supports the same 2nd-gen Apple Pencil, the same Magic Keyboard, and also share about the same battery life of up to 10 hours, and also have 5G connectivity. But one thing is that the iPad Pros are only offered in space gray or silver colorways, and if you like to spice things up with more colorful designs, the iPad Air or Mini are your only options at this price. But getting to the significant changes, starting with the display since that's where we'll see the biggest difference since the iPad Pro features both 11-inch and 12.9-inch models. The main difference between that and the Air and Mini is simply that the Pros have what Apple call a ProMotion display. It basically stands for a 120Hz refresh rate, and I'm no engineer but based on personal experience, my god, it makes a world of a difference. It literally feels so smooth to write on, and it's honestly such a treat if you're writing notes, doing sketches, or even playing games. But then there's also the case for the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, since it also now has a Liquid Retina XDR display, an upgrade from the standard Liquid Retina we see on the Air, Mini, and even the 11-inch iPad Pro. It's also another fancy name for a mini LED display, which results in a crisper resolution, better colors, deeper blacks, and a higher peak brightness of 1000 nits compared to the 11 inches 600 nits. It's simply a better display, and not to mention that it's also pretty large, and side by side you will see the difference that extra 1.9 inches make. Although it does come at a cost of being less portable and more expensive, but hey, pick your poison. The other main thing we'll see upgraded with the Pro models are the cameras. The Pro models feature a dual camera setup at the back with a 12-megapixel wide and 10-megapixel ultra-wide shooter which allows up to 2x optical zoom. The front camera is also a true depth camera with an ultra-wide shooter as well, allowing it to have a portrait mode. The iPad Pros are also capable of ProRes video recording up to 4K, but what's more is that it now has a LiDAR scanner that allows it to have augmented reality capabilities. We also see a much improved speaker setup with 4 speakers, 2 on each side, unlike we see on the iPad Air or Mini where they only get 2 in total. Other neat features include Face ID over Touch ID, which personally I'd rather much have. The Pro models, as we know, also have a USB-C port, but they're capable of Thunderbolt or USB 4 connectivity, and this means better display support, faster transfer speeds, and faster charging. We also see a lot more configurations among the Pro models with up to 16 gigs of RAM and up to 2 TB of storage, which is nuts. Oh, by the way, this year's iPad Pros also come with the M2 chip, which simply means that it's faster and more efficient than the M1. And so we'll just flash a summary of all the configurations and their respective prices since it really is a lot. Just note that you can only get 16 gigs of RAM when the iPad Pro is spec'd with either 1 TB or 2 TB. But generally, you'll see yourself spend at least 55,990 pesos for the base 128GB Wi-Fi iPad Pro 11-inch and up to 163,490 pesos for the fully spec'd 2 TB Wi-Fi and cellular iPad Pro 12.9-inch. And if you're curious on how much on average is the difference of the 11-inch and 12.9-inch models in terms of price, you're generally seeing a 20,000 peso increase if you opt for a similarly spec'd 12.9-inch iPad Pro over the 11-inch iPad Pro. So that wraps up the iPads, and before we move on, be sure to show your support by leaving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel cause we'd sure love it. Now let's have a look at what Samsung has to offer. And that is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Plus and Tab S8 Ultra. We'll cover both of them in one go since they have more similarities than differences. On paper, it says that both are powered by an octa-core processor, but actually it's the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset, which should be more than enough horsepower to get heavy workloads done and even play some demanding titles. The displays on both are beautiful, with the Tab S8 Plus being a 12.4-inch Super AMOLED with a 2800 by 1752 resolution, and the Tab S8 Ultra having a massive 14.6-inch Super AMOLED with a higher resolution at 2960 by 1848. They also both have HDR10 Plus support and a 120Hz refresh rate, which makes riding on it practically lag-free and games looking so smooth. Unlike the iPads though, Samsung opted for a 16:10 aspect ratio, which make the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Plus and Ultra in fact seem more rectangular. This isn't generally a bad thing since I'd argue watching videos and playing games is much better with a wider display. And if you find yourself doing just that most of the time, then it's perfect. Just note that the Tab S8 Ultra has a teeny tiny notch on one of its sides that could be annoying to some, but then again, most of us just get used to it, and honestly, it is pretty small. You also get a quad speaker setup with 2 on each side tuned by AKG and with support for Dolby Atmos. At the back, we see a dual rear camera setup with a 13MP main and 6MP ultra wide. Up front, we see a 12MP ultra wide on both, but the Tab S8 Ultra has an extra 12MP wide shooter, hence the notch. They both also have auto frame, which is similar to Apple's center stage, on which the camera tracks you and adjusts itself to make you in frame during a video call. There's also smart switch to transfer data between other Galaxy devices, and auto switch to automatically connect to Galaxy Buds and other devices. Furthermore, you can even use the tablet as a secondary display both wired or wirelessly, and it also does have multi-window up to 3 apps for you to multitask with. They also come with 5G speeds and an in-display fingerprint scanner and face unlock. And being a premium Galaxy tablet, it also does have support for the S Pen with all its gestures and shortcuts. And guess what? It comes free with both the Tab S8 Plus and S8 Ultra. It also has support for 2 keyboards Samsung offers that are sold separately, the Book Cover Keyboard Slim, which only features a keyboard and a little cutout for the S Pen, or the 2-in-1 Book Cover Keyboard that features a detachable kickstand back cover and a separate keyboard and trackpad. This makes it almost a perfect 2-in-1 tablet/laptop since it also supports Samsung DeX, which transforms its user interface to that of like a Windows or Chromebook device. This gives you movable windows among other things and thus making it a much more versatile device, especially when you hook it up to an external display. Both have USB-C charging with the S8 Plus's battery rated at 10,090mAh and the S8 Ultra at 11,200mAh. Overall, you can expect both to last around 8 hours with regular usage each day. The Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Plus is priced at 63,990 pesos retail, but you can regularly find it on sale. And as of writing, it's priced at only 53,790 pesos. Talk about a deal. It does come with 8 gigs of RAM, but what's a plus is that it does have 256GB as standard, but also a microSD card slot for storage expandability up to 1TB. The Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra is currently offered in a 12GB plus 256GB spec with also a microSD card slot for 77,990 pesos retail, but likewise it's also on sale for only 65,990 pesos, that's 12,000 pesos off. Which to get? It depends on you really, cause the Tab S8 Ultra's massive screen is definitely useful for multitasking or if you plan to use this as a desktop replacement, but it comes at the expense of being quite large to hold. The Tab S8 Plus seems to be a pretty nice sweet spot since it's still pretty spacious, but packs in pretty much all the same things as the Tab S8 Ultra. So just make sure to do your research and find what suits your needs best. We hope you enjoyed this video, and which team are you? Apple iPad or Samsung Galaxy Tab S8? We sure would love to know which you prefer and why, so be sure to leave a comment down below. Make sure to also follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, then visit yugatech.com for the best tech content in the Philippines. It's been VJ of Yugatech, happy holidays!